help you need. Call Gary and the team at GQ Law 855-500-TRUST or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's gqlaw.com 855-500-TRUST.
All right. Welcome to Word on Wealth. It's Thursday. This is our day we get to talk with Anthony Wright. He's a financial fiduciary. He helps us understand investments, investment terms. He helps a lot of my clients. He helps me and my family. I appreciate Anthony very personally and on a business standpoint for what he's done, helping me with my own retirement plan. It's been a lot of fun. And if you want to be part of that and get a piece of the action and know how to deal with Anthony and be able to talk to his wonderful team, it's 931-RETIRED, 931-RETIRED. His website, easy pleasy, is BibleSafeInvesting.com. All right. So we are asking definitions of Anthony today. And I said, what's the difference between a stock and a bond? And he said, equities. Stock, you actually own equity in a company. And if it's a bond for the corporation, they call it a debenture. The company actually owes you money, right? You have loaned them money. It's good so far?
That's it, man. You hit it spot on.
Okay. So other types of investments. So if I said, Anthony, I am interested in fixed income investments, what does that mean?
So fixed income is going to basically mean bonds because it's a fixed income. It's also called a debenture, right? So they'll pay a certain percentage. So sometimes, it just depends on what they're doing and what they're raising money to do and what they're wanting to do. But a lot of times you'll hear people say government bonds. So you got to think anytime you hear bonds, you got to think it's a long-term investment. So generally they're 5-year, 10-year, 15, all the way up to 30-year bonds. And that means they're going to pay a yield. And now yield is just a fancy word for interest. So that means they're going to pay an interest rate. And when they do, that's considered fixed income because your income is, guess what? Fixed.
Oh my gosh, I guessed it right there.
So, let's say they're paying you 8% a year, then your income is fixed at 8% a year. So that's why it's called fixed income. So most of this terminology, most of the terminology in the investment world pretty much speaks for itself, except, calls, covered calls, puts. All that stuff gets a little wonky, but the rest of the stuff is pretty simple, pretty easy for folks to understand.
Okay, beautiful. I want to invest in mutual funds. What does that do? What the heck is a mutual fund? Where do they come about?
Well, so mutual funds, think about it. Here's your term, mutual. So you have a bunch of people mutually agreeing to buy a fund. And guess what the fund's called? Mutual.
Mutual fund. All right, 2 for 2.
So they mutually agree to put their funds together and buy a mutual fund.
Okay.
Now, when they buy into that mutual fund is going to buy like 100 different stocks. Now, here's where you have to be careful because a lot of financial advisors will stick people by saying, well, you're diversified. Well, when you dig a little deeper into diversified, what do you mean by diversified? Well, they'll say, well, that means you're into like 100 different companies, which is true. So a mutual fund's not going to buy just one company. They'll buy 50 or they'll buy 100 different companies. But guess what they're buying? They're buying equity. They're buying stock. So that means all 50 to 100 of your companies is in stock. So if the stock market crashes, your mutual fund's going to crash. So they're not diversifying you among, different things like commodities, debentures, bonds, T-notes, T-bills. They're not diversifying you, annuities. That's not what they mean. When they use the word a mutual fund, we're diversified. That means they're diversified among 50 to 100 stocks. So if the market goes down, your mutual fund's going to go down.
Right. Oh, that is great explanation. Yeah, because it's really true. Because when you look at early new investors, you go onto some of the big websites and it talks about mutual funds. And this way you're diversified because you're in a lot of stocks, but it's like, wait a minute, don't stocks perform differently than bonds? And don't they, aren't there other investment devices? That's terrific. Okay. Good. Next one. And this is great. I love this. Anthony, I want to invest in ETFs.
That's a good one too. So ETFs is an acronym for exchange traded funds.
Okay.
So now this is a good question because ETFs are kind of the new kid on the block. So ETFs only come out about, it's hard to say, 10 years ago, maybe. Now in the stock market, that's a new kid on the block because we go all the way back to the early 1900s. So 10 years is a new kid on the block.
Okay.
But what happens in a mutual fund is they have opened in mutual funds and they have closed in mutual funds. Either way, mutual funds have a redemption period. So let's say today you wanted to log in and sell your mutual fund. Well, it's going to be like a T+3. Now that means T, time, plus 3 days. So that means your time is 3 days. So a mutual fund, let's say you wanted to sell it today, you may not redeem your money for 2 or 3 days. So a lot of people were getting upset and a lot of people were losing money in a mutual fund because they would call their broker and they would say, hey, I want to sell some shares in my mutual funds 2 or 3 days from now before it's sold. Sometimes it has been known recently. I have known some people that cannot convert their mutual fund shares for 3 months.
Oh,
so mutual funds wait up to 3 months. All right. So then about 10 years ago, they came out with something called an exchange traded fund. An exchange traded fund is basically the exact same thing as a mutual fund, except it's traded on an exchange. And all that means you can go in today, log in, or call your broker and say, I want to sell my fund. I want to sell my exchange traded fund. I bought it at 50. It's at 80. And the moment they push the button, Gary, money is in your account. It's sold.
Ah, great. Okay. Man,
yeah.
This is good. This is super good. Okay. I want to invest in MTNs.
So MTMs are medium-term notes. So medium-term notes is going to be something that's on a medium term, like 1 year, 6 months. It's something that's a medium term, and they're going to come with a coupon rate. Which is interest rate. So you might buy like a 6-month medium term note or a year, 12-month term note. And let's say you get 8%, 10%, whatever rate they're giving you at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're able to do that and buy that note for say 6 months to 1 year. Now, one thing I will tell you about, back to bonds and debentures, there's something called a zero bond. Now, the zero bond for the right investor is a pretty cool deal. So let's just say somebody like yourself and somebody like me that has grandkids,
mm-hmm.
we go out and buy a zero bond. Now, what that means is that means that we go out and buy this bond. Let's just say it's a $200,000 bond. Now, I'm not being exact here. I'm just giving you an example.
Mm-hmm.
So we go out and we say, well, we want to buy a $200,000 zero bond. And they're going to say, okay, cost you nothing to buy it right now. And there's zero interest on it. That's why it's called a zero bond. So there's zero interest on it. All right. But we want a 15-year zero bond because my grandkid's 5, and in 15 years, they're going to be 20. So I would like it for he or she to go to college on. And they're going to say, great, give us $75,000. And you write a check for $75,000. And guess what that thing's worth in 15 years? $200,000 paid to your grandkid at age 20.
Awesome.
How cool is that?
That is really cool. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And it has no bearing on what interest rates do. Like, it has no bearing on inflation, nothing. It's a zero coupon bond. They guarantee you the $200,000 and they're charging you up front. And I don't know, like today, what the market is today. I mean, I'd have to call and ask, but that's how it works. So you would say, I want a 200,000 zero bond, 15 years. You can do 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever you want to do. And the longer out you go, the greater deal you're going to get. So if you go 30 years, you might get a $200,000 bond for 50 grand.
Now, is something like that. So you get a zero bond and you say, okay, I want it to be out 15 years because that's when grandkids are going to be in college. And they say, okay, write us a check for 75. You hand them the check. Is that something that later I can get out because somebody else will be willing to buy it out of my portfolio? Or is it just mine the whole time?
No, it's yours the whole time and you can't get out for 15 years.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So of course you can
But I had a guy move here from Illinois, and he bought some bonds from the city of Chicago, and he had over $1 million in zero coupon bonds that he bought 20 years ago for $100,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it was cool. I was like, whoa, it's cool.
2 minutes.
He's like, yeah, man. He's like, I thought, what the heck? 20 years ago, I got $100 grand laying around. And then 20 years later, he has $1 million.
It seems like a lot of investing is opposite of what we see in today's world. Like there's so much like, do this quick, do that quick, make money quick, do that. If I can't get a job for, $25 an hour, I'm not going to work. I refuse to take minimum wage, which is only $16.50 an hour. But it's like, it just seems like with investing, the kind of the younger people that I've talked to about it, they're really not patient. And it seems like planning and patience are just not, it doesn't happen enough. And around your own retirement and your own money, it seems like planning and patience is really what you've got to do. As far as you're diversifying, it's like not just having more pieces of more stocks. That's not diversifying. That's a mutual fund. But then you're going between, T notes and T-bills and zero coupon bonds and MTNs. And there's all these different things that kind of swim together in your portfolio that are all structured. And that's what is so thrilling about, having you on. It's just funny the way, because this is your world and your mind does this stuff. You're out there on your tractor thinking about, I wonder if I could get Gary into an MTM that would make him happy. And the thing is, I know from recent experience that is the way your brain functions, and I really love that about you.
Yep.
You're listening to The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush and your fiduciary financial planner, Anthony Wright. His number is 931 retired. If you don't have his number seared into your mind or in your cell phone, put it there right now. 931 retired. All right. Coming up next, more with Anthony Wright, our financial fiduciary. Anthony, you can stay for about 10 more minutes.
I sure can.
All right, bud. Really appreciate it. Got some more questions for you coming up next here on The Word on Wealth.
We've got questions. We've got answers. This is The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQLaw.com.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. With heat waves spreading across the country, President Biden unveiled some new steps to protect outdoor workers.
Record temperatures, and I mean record, are now affecting more than 100 million Americans.
Which is why President Biden directed the Department of Labor to increase inspections of potentially dangerous workplaces like farms and construction sites. He also wants heightened enforcement of heat safety violations.
I've asked Acting Labor Secretary
This broadcast outreach, The Word on Wealth, with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST. GQ Law.
You're live.
Welcome to GQ Law. We're so glad to have you along. GQ Law, Word on Wealth, sponsored by GQ Law. And today is actually sponsored by the Retirement Specialty Group. What Retirement Specialty Group does is they specialize in faith-based investing, where you put your money where your heart and soul and faith is. And we have Anthony Wright, who is the founder of Bible Safe Investing. His website is BibleSafeInvesting.com. And I would be thrilled to hear from you. If you go with Anthony, you talk to his crew, I would love to hear from you and tell me what kind of experience you had with Anthony. I know personally mine and some really good friends of mine that have Anthony helping them out. They're thrilled with the service and the help they provide. And it's just, what more can I say? Call Anthony, 931-RETIRED. Okay, Anthony, we are going down. We are just moving quickly through our list of all this stuff is baby steps for you, but this is a big deal. Let's see, we did equities, fixed income, mutual funds, exchange traded funds, zero coupon bonds, MTNs. Okay, these are some other terminology that we've talked about on previous shows, but I kind of want to get it a little bit more like cataloged today so that I have it kind of all in one place. And this is, of course, I'm always taking notes on what you talk about. So I want to talk about, I come to you and I say, hey, Anthony, I want to invest in some options. It's like, I don't even know what that is, but I don't know. I know what it is, but tell me about options.
Well, I love that. I love that analogy. Well, okay. So back to what we were saying earlier before the break, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let those words speak to you. Options. What do you think an option is? It's an option to buy something. Gee, that's brilliant, right?
Yeah.
That's what options are. I mean, really, that's all they are. You're taking an option to buy something. Now, 9 out of 10 times you're not going to buy it because there's a price on that option. So I'm going to give you an analogy of the way an option works. So we've been picking on Cracker Barrel today, so let's just keep picking on Cracker Barrel. So say Cracker Barrel's $45 a share, and you might not have, say you want to buy 100 shares, but 45 times 100, you don't really have that kind of money. So you would tell someone like myself, I would like to buy an option to buy 100 shares of Cracker Barrel. Doesn't mean you're going to do it, just means you want the right to buy it. And then you pick the price. So it's 45 right now. So I want the option to buy it at 45. And I want 90 days to do it. Sure. Instead of $4,500 to buy 100 shares, you're only going to get charged maybe $45. And you're going to get the option to buy those 100 shares for the next 90 days. Now, the next 90 days comes and goes, and you were correct. Son of a gun. Cracker Barrel went to 55 a share. You got two options. One, you can say, I have the option to buy Cracker Barrel at 45 and it's already at 55. I'm calling in my option. I'm buying it. So you buy it for 45, you turn right around, sell it for 55, and you pocket the 10 grand that you made. Not a bad deal, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's option one. Option two.
Okay.
Option two. Let's say that $45 that you paid for those 100 options. 90 days later, Cracker Barrel's now running 55. That's called, now you're in the money. Now you were right. That's called in the money. So you got the right to buy this share for 45. It's now selling 55. So now that share, that option to purchase 100 that you bought for $45, you turn around and sell that option now for $540 and pocket $500. So do you want to pocket $500 or do you want to pocket 10 grand? It's your call. You make the decision. You're the client. but that's how it works.
Wow. Oh my gosh, Anthony.
Yeah. Now it works the same way going down. That's called a put. So a lot of the listeners today probably don't even realize you can make money when the market goes down. So let's go back to Cracker Barrel. It's $45. You think something bad's going to happen like COVID, we're going to get a pandemic, restaurants are going to close down. So I just kind of got a hunch. Cracker Barrel's going to tank. Restaurants are going to have a bad day. Well, you call up, you say, Anthony, I want to buy 100 puts that Cracker Barrel is going to go down. And I want to buy it at 45, which is what it's at today. Well, I'm going to say, well, what do you think it's going to go down to? You're going to say, well, I think it's going to go down to 35. All right, same scenario, $45, you pay $45. If it drops and goes down to 25, you have an option to buy it at 45 and turn right around and you make the 10 grand spread, even though it went down. So you're like, Anthony, you mean I actually make money if it went down? Yes, you 100% are correct, and you make the money when it went down. And if you don't want to buy the stock and cash it in, you just sell your options. So you turn around and you sell the put because the market went down, Cracker Barrel went down, you only invested $45, you turn around, sell it for $545, and you pocket $500, and you made money when the market went down.
Okay.
Did I blow your mind there?
Actually, you did. I think I'm a pretty clever person, but I'm like, Anthony, that was ridiculous. That is so awesome. Okay.
Here's the problem. Let me tell you the problem, Gary. Here's the problem. The problem is there's not enough financial advisors that talk that way and do that with the client. That's the problem.
Right.
Because they get lazy. I'm just talking truth and being direct, honest.
Right.
They get lazy. Do you understand and those that are listening today, do you understand that if an investment advisor manages $100 million portfolio and he gets 2% of $100 million portfolio, that dude or that girl makes $2 million a year? Whether they're playing golf, whether they're vacationing, whether they're at home with the grandkids, they get $2 million a year. And it don't matter if you lose money or not. You know why? Because their programmed answer is already in the queue. What do you mean? Hey, George, my market's going down, man. I'm down 25%. Yeah, you sure are, George. That's just the market, buddy. It's just the market. Nothing we can do about it.
It's all over the news. You saw it
It's
on
all
over the news. You just don't ask me. Look in the news. The news says you hear it every 15 seconds. The Dow Jones Industrial Average has dropped 0.24% today. Sorry, George.
There you go.
Excuse me. I gotta hit this next hole.
There you go. You got it. You can go become a financial advisor, Gary. You did that very well. So they never go to the client with the good stuff. They keep the good stuff for themselves. And then they become lazy and they collect that 2% fee or 1% fee, whatever fee they're collecting. They collect that fee and they don't do anything, and they don't have to do anything because they have the perfect answer. And Gary nailed it on the money. Well, you've seen the news. You saw Fox News. You watched CBS News tonight. The market's, the Dow's down 454 points.
2 minutes.
Right.
When you turned your cell phone on to the stock and it went bright red, that's the problem. It's red today. Sorry, buddy. Got my tea time.
Here's the sign.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. And
we have a good time.
No, it's funny. Okay, so I'm tempted to tell you, have you do the put one again. I got the call one because that's the option. Oh my gosh, we're gonna get you to do it again. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna go back and re-listen to my show. If you guys want to hear this stuff again, this is why I did it today in a compact thing with Anthony, and he stayed on, more time, and I really, really appreciate that. I wanted to get this stuff it's recorded, it's on YouTube, it's on our podcast, and you can see there's this concise It's going to be a 30-minute podcast. That's all we're going to convert of this show, 30 minutes of it, to where it's going to be Anthony Wright explaining the basic investment terms. And you can see when he goes basic, it's like, that's basic. Oh my gosh, my head is spinning. So I love it. And the fact is, I don't really have to understand it. I have to understand the concept. All I got to do is call him. I have his cell phone number. All I got to do is call him and go, what? 931 retired. You guys, that's the number, 931 retired. You will enjoy his team. I'm serious. If your investment advisor says, we got to talk at least 4 times a year to adjust your mutual fund portfolio strategy, and he's getting paid or she's getting paid in advance, every quarter of 1% of your investments, and they're looking at it once a quarter. Are you kidding me? Are we really nuts? But that's it. That's what they do. I'm not faulting them. We allow it. So Anthony doesn't. 931 retired. Get involved with him. If you got to send all your money there, some of your money there, just try it. Try it. You'll like it. 931 retired. Anthony, really, really appreciate you talking about puts and calls, straddles, and being diversified. And we'll talk to you again next Thursday. I will personally talk to you tomorrow, but I really appreciate you being on the show with us today. All right, everybody.
Thanks, Gary.
You bet.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
All right. Take care. You're on the Word on Wealth. Hang in there. Do not touch that dial.
You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. We are here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
So Gary, we've talked a long time about estate administration. So what is that and why is it important?
Estate administration is the distribution part of estate planning. So when someone passes away and they leave money to beneficiaries, the property has to be administered. So it's like taking it from the decedent to the survivor. That's called the estate administration process. So usually you're going to have a successor trustee that's named in the trust. So have no idea what they're doing because they've never done it before. So then they call on GQ Law and we walk them step by step on how to be a successful and good successor trustee. We also do the required notifications. We notify the Department of Health Services and all the legal requirements so that they can have the estate administration done properly. We help successor trustees be successful.
Call or click to request your free consultation. gqlaw.com. 855-500-TRUST. gqlaw.com.
Don't miss the most exciting event of the year. Hey, I'm inviting you to the Saving America Town Hall, coming to the Encore Event Center in San Diego, Thursday, August 10th. This special live in-person event features Andrea Kay, Mike Gallagher, and Officer Brandon Tatum. Join us for a special VIP meet and greet reception starting at 5 p.m. and the Town Hall Q&A at 6:30 p.m. Tickets will sell out fast, so get yours now at theanswersandiego.com. Keyword Town Hall, theanswersandiego.com. Sponsored by
You're not alone. Ask for the legal help you need. Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST. Or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
All right. Welcome to the Word on Wealth. Really happy to have you back. So we had Anthony Wright for over half an hour on the air. And I know I told you that you should call 888-344-1170. And I know why you don't call, because I ask you, why don't you call? And most people have told me because I was listening and I was trying to get my answers. Well, Anthony just ran us through 30 minutes of basic investing. And when I asked him to stay basic, he doesn't stay basic, because for him, basic is just super, super simple. So what Anthony did for us is he helped us understand some of these important investment terms, and I just really loved it. We talked about investing in equities or stocks, fixed income, which would be bonds, mutual funds, which is a mutual fund of a bunch of stocks, exchange traded funds, which is kind of a new thing where the mutual fund is actually traded on the stock exchange. So it's for easy to buy and sell. Zero coupon bonds, fantastic to understand that. Medium term notes and options. And that I thought was fascinating, talking about options and how they work and how you buy options, how you put them, how you call them. And then he didn't get into covered calls, but there's a couple more things we're obviously going to ask him at our next date that we have with Anthony. That's going to be coming up on Thursdays, every Thursday, right here on The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush and Anthony Wright. As always, the show is sponsored by GQ Law, and the Thursday segment is sponsored by Retirement Specialty Group. Their website, BibleSafeInvesting.com, BibleSafeInvesting.com. It doesn't matter whether you're concerned about having your investments be faith-based or Bible safe. The concept is fantastic. The way it works in helping you feel good about your money and where it's invested is fantastic. And the returns he's getting for his clients are actually pretty incredible. He's an active, aggressive financial planner. He doesn't sit. He's constantly figuring out how to make the money, make the most, and take advantage of the markets. And you can see the things he's talking about are not easy. They take work. When I called him the other day, I said, Anthony, I'm sorry to make you work so hard because I'm trying to provide information for him. We're trying to move things. And it was like, I felt a little bad because I've got a lot going on and I have a very busy, very filled calendar, which I absolutely love. And so I was, talking to Anthony and saying, here's what you asked for. And I'm trying to get information. He wanted more and we're working on it. And I said, I'm really sorry to put you through so much work. And his response to me was classic. He said, I'm just going to look it up. It was, a little work never hurt anybody, but it wasn't actually that. He said, hard work never hurt anyone. And I think that could literally be his moniker. It could be on his blazoned on the chest of his t-shirt, on his tie, on his website. Hard work never hurt anyone. And I just, that's the way he works. If you want to try it out, what I've done with Anthony is I asked him, I said, so if somebody wants to use you as a financial advisor, what if somebody inherits, $10,000? Can you do something with it? It's like, absolutely. Well, I've talked to some financial advisors that just say, you can't really do much with 10,000. Why don't you go get your own Schwab account? Or you own Morgan Stanley account and do it yourself. Anthony's not that way. His team is incredible, dealing with all different sizes of estates, all different sizes of accounts, retirement accounts, etc. The idea, Anthony's a young guy, is to stay with him and have him set you up so that you and the team and him can work together to build retirement accounts. Are a matter of being patient and being wise and managing risk. So that's enough on the financial stuff. I wanted to go over a couple of things with you that kind of came up, just questions. So somebody asked me, if I inherit a house with a mortgage on it, can I just keep paying the mortgage? And that's a really good question, because I would say probably the majority of homes that get inherited have some type of a loan. It might be a conventional mortgage. It could be interest-only mortgage. It could be a home equity conversion mortgage, which is a reverse mortgage is another term for it. And anytime there's a mortgage, in California, it's not really a mortgage. It's actually called a note secured by a deed of trust. We just call it a mortgage. California is not a mortgage state. California is a trust deed state. So that's why if you look on the title to your house, there'll be the title saying that hopefully that it's in your living trust, but then there'll be a trust deed that's recorded. What that means is that the lender loaned you money, and to protect the lender, to assure the lender that they're going to get paid, they're holding your deed in trust. It's being held in trust, not your living trust, but in trust for them, because you've agreed that if you do not pay that mortgage, if you do not pay the home loan, the note, then that lender, to be able to collect on that note, has the right to foreclose on the trust deed, which means they go to give you a notification that says, hey, you've defaulted on the note. Okay, so let's say your home note is $300,000. You've defaulted on your home note. You're behind on payments. So you not only owe us the $300,000, but the payments that you fell behind on, the interest has increased, has accrued against that loan. So now you owe us, $315,000. We intend to foreclose on that property so that we can get paid our $315,000 plus attorney's fees, plus additional interest between now and when we get the house from you. That notice is called a notice of default. The notice of default is a public record. It is recorded at the county recorder's office. And believe me, the second that they are recorded, there are companies that pull the records and they send out this huge big list to all the people who have an NOD, notice of default, recorded, and they send you notifications. Or you get realtors that are calling you and saying, hey, I'm a real estate investor and I notice you're behind on your home and I'd like to buy it from you and whatever, because it's public record. That's why you get those calls. The notice of default, then that period lasts about 30 days. Then they're going to enter foreclosure. The foreclosure is, it says in 90 days from today, if you don't bring it current, 100% current, and here's the number, they give you the dollar amounts. If you don't bring it current within 90 days, we will list your house for sale. They'll put a notice on it, notice for sale. So 90 days later, that's the waiting period, the foreclosure period. The end of the 90 days, the lender issues a notice of sale. And that notice is going to be at least 21 days, after which time the house, the date for sale will be set. So if the 90 days passes, they're going to do a notice of sale, and it's going to be on the courthouse steps at such and such a courthouse, and it's going to be at such and such a time, and people can be there to buy it. And that is, people do come and buy houses out of foreclosure. During that time, you try to catch it up or make a deal or arrangement with your lender so that they don't foreclose on the trust deed to secure or to protect or pay their note. Some people end up filing a Chapter 13 bankruptcy to stop it, which works, for a time. So there are ways to get caught up. But what I want you to understand about this, the mortgage on the house is, if you inherit a house and there is a loan on it, right? A note secured by deed of trust, we're calling it a mortgage. If there is a mortgage on that house, it must be paid. You cannot inherit somebody else's loan. The house has that loan attached to it. And if you don't pay it, the lender will foreclose on the property and they will sell the property to be able to pay that loan. It must be paid. You cannot inherit it. You can't assume it. It has to be financed. So if there's a loan out, you got to get a lender right away and say, I want to buy this house from the trust, hopefully, because if you're buying it out of probate, it's a total nightmare. So if the person you're inheriting it from only had a will, I'm really sorry. If they didn't have a will, that's horrible. I'm really, really sorry. But if they had a trust, you're in better shape. You're going to try to finance that. So if you're going to get the house, you go to the lender, you say, I want to borrow money against my inherited property that I am inheriting. And here's how much, and then they work on those numbers. And if they can do it, potentially you qualify for a loan and they'll pay off your parents' mortgage, their loan, with the new loan that you get. If you can't afford the new loan, if you can't afford to refinance the house, you have to sell it. Because if you don't, you may end up losing it in foreclosure, which is horrible, because then you lose most of the equity, because the lenders don't have to sell it for top dollar. They just sell it to the highest bidder. So if a house has a loan against it, the loan has to be paid by whoever wants to keep the house. If you can't afford it, the house gets sold. Okay. The other question we had was, what if a young beneficiary inherits a house? Well, if a young beneficiary inherits a house, it's, if they're 16 years old, they can't own a house. The successor trustees got to look at it and say, they're too young to own this house and to keep it for the next 2 or 3 years as a rental. It's just not feasible. Let's sell it. Let's put the money in investment so that it's going to gain money and we don't have to do tenants and trash and all that stuff. Let's just put it in cash, which is the most typical thing that happens. All right. Inheriting houses is a big thing. It happens quite a bit. There are some nuance to talk about, and we'll keep talking about that here on the Word on Wealth. Tomorrow we'll be back with the Finding Joy Friday on the Word on Wealth. That's here tomorrow. And then we got coming up next week, our regular contingent of people. And we hope you have a great rest of your week and a great weekend on the Word on Wealth.
Tell a friend about the Word on Wealth, featured since 1995. With financial solutions attorney Gary Quackenbush, an expert in estate planning, wills and trusts, and tax problem solving. Gary is past president of the California Society of Tax Consultants. Reach out to us. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future. The information you hear on the Word on Wealth is for general information purposes only. This program discusses general financial and legal topics. Seek legal advice from a competent lawyer for your individual legal needs. The opinions